What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Another video means another dopamine high because of the buy something that feels something. And today we're back at it with another review. For today's review, we're taking a video that probably should have been out sooner. Is Jazwares, specifically Jazwares Vault's The World of Halo Noble 6 and Elite Zealot 2 Pack. And this release is part of the second wave of figures for the Jazwares Vault Halo line. And the only other release that come out in this wave is the Tartarus and Prophet of Mercy 2 Pack. And personally, I'm not going to be picking that up. As cool as Tartarus is, I can kind of care less about the Prophet of Mercy, and I'm not really going to pay 30 bucks, well 40 with tax and shipping, but I'm not going to be paying that much for just one figure that I want. And also I don't have any other Halo 2 figures, so Tartarus would just be sticking out like a sore thumb anyways. So maybe if I find him for cheap by himself, I'll pick up that figure, but I'm not going to be paying, you know, $30+ for one figure because I just wouldn't be getting my money's worth at that point. So I'm just gonna be sticking to this Noble 6 and Elite Zealot 2 Pack, and that's what brings us to today's video. So at any point during or after the video you realize you do want to pick up this 2 pack for yourself, like I've mentioned, this is a Jazwares Vault exclusive, so that's the only place you're gonna be able to pick this up for retail price for $30, but after, you know, shipping and taxes, it came out to about $42 for me. But depending on where you live, it could be more or less. But I will leave a link in the description of the video if you do want to pick up this 2 pack for yourself. After that, you're gonna have to beg to the eBay gods for some kind of cheaper or fair price. But like I said, Jazwares Vault still has it in stock at the time of recording this video, so link in the description if you do want to pick it up for yourself. And that's pretty much everything I have for introductions, so with all that said, let's open up this 2 pack. So starting off with the packaging, and first off we have this bland repetitive box that just has Infinite Chief on it on all sides, but once you open that up, you can see the actual packaging that the 2 pack comes in, and just pulling it out, it is 10 times more interesting. We have a nice little close-up of both figures. We have the golden Jazwares Vault sticker in the top left, which is looking all nice, and then going to the sides we get a nice little mugshot of each figure. These mugshots are on both sides, so it doesn't matter which side you look at, it's the same exact thing. But then looking at the back of the packaging, and we get a nice look at both figures, pretty much a full body shot. It gets a brief description of what is included with them, and then flipping back to the front, and you can open up the packaging similar to how NECA does their packaging, and you can get a nice look inside, and it seems like everything is there. So let's open up this bad boy and move on. So starting off with head articulation for Noble 6, you can have him rotate his head 360 degrees, which is always nice to see. And then after that, you can have him look up and down somewhat. And after that, that's where it starts and stops. For head articulation, you can't have him tilt his head side to side or move in a spherical motion, which really sucks to see because that really takes out some of the expression that you can give this figure. And then when it comes to the arm articulation, you can rotate the arms up and over 360 degrees, which is always nice to see. And then you can have him bring up his arms a okay amount. You think with no shoulder pads he'd bring him up further, but here we are. And then you can have him open up his arms a decent amount as well. And then moving down from the shoulder area, you can obviously spin the arms 360 degrees, and you can bring up that elbow. I want to say I would like it to be past the 90-degree mark, but I don't think you really can, which sucks because you can't even reach for his knife. And then you can spin the elbow and forearm 360 degrees as well. And then when it comes to the hand, you can rotate 360 degrees and bend that wrist however you please. So that's pretty good still. Overall, it's a mixed bag with the arms. There's some things I do like, some things I don't. It's overall just kind of meh. Then when it comes to Noble 6's torso, he can actually rotate it 360 degrees, which is far better than what anything the Spartan collection could have done, funny enough. But yeah, after that's all he has for torso articulation. Like, you can kind of wiggle him around, but it's not really enough to like stay or stick or do anything of significance. But I guess anything is better than what the Spartan collection can do, because God, is that torso articulation awful. Then finally, taking a look at the legs, you can rotate them 360 degrees, but you would be grinding plastic together, so I don't recommend it. And then you can get a pretty good split out of them. I'm not disappointed with that split at all. And then after that, you can bring up the legs, so you can have them sit in a chair or off the ledge of a cliff. Anything like that is possible. And then there is a swivel in the thigh, so you can get more range with the legs, which is always nice to see on this figure. And then moving down from that swivel to the knee joint, you can get a pretty good knee bend. You can get him to do almost a full butt kick, which is really nice to see on this figure, so that's nice. You can't rotate the calf or the knee 360 degrees though, which is alright, because you know the leg range is still pretty good. And then the boot, you can, rotate 360 degrees and pretty much bend however you please. So despite not being able to rotate the calf or the knee, there's a lot of other moving parts in the leg that allow for great range in this area of the figure. And overall, very happy with the leg articulation on this figure. So overall, I'm kind of disappointed with what we got for the articulation of this figure. I feel like, the head should have been able to move around more and have more range. Same for the arms. And as for the torso, that's a plus in my book. Jazwares is known for having really shitty torso articulation with their Halo figures, so the fact that it even rotated was just, again, a plus in my book. And I have basically zero complaints about the leg articulation. Pretty much happy with all the range that we were given there. I just feel like the head and arms should have had a little bit more range, but after that, it is what it is. And hopefully with each release the articulation gets better, kind of similar to what they did with the Spartan collection. And then moving over to the Elite Zealot articulation, starting off with the head region, and you can't really rotate the head 360 degrees, but you can kind of spin it. Not really 360 degrees, but there is some range there, and you can bring the head up and down as well. And after that, that's pretty much where the articulation starts and ends. Very limited, similar to Noble 6's, but in a way it feels more limited because he can't look around in like multiple directions, just only up or down. And then moving over to arm articulation, you can rotate the arm up and over 360 degrees, which is always nice to see. And then you can have him open up his arm an alright amount, which means you can have him bring up his arm an alright amount. It's nothing too crazy, but the range is there nonetheless. And then moving down from that to the elbow bend is a little lackluster in my opinion. It's not bad, but I wish it would surpass the 90-degree mark. That's just a personal opinion for me. And then you can rotate the forearm and elbow 360 degrees. And then moving down to the hand, you can rotate the hand 360 degrees and bend the wrist however you please. So the arm articulation overall is kind of meh in my opinion, nothing too crazy, just kind of does its job, but to the bare minimum. Then with the torso articulation, you can rotate it 360 degrees, which is always nice to see, and then you can have them kind of move back and forth. There is some wiggle room, but not a lot, and overall it's about the same as Noble 6's torso articulation, if not maybe a little bit better with the amount of wiggling you can get out of it, but after that there's not really much to it. And then finally with the knees, you can rotate the legs 360 degrees, but they most likely will pop out, so I'm not going to do that full rotation, but it is possible. Then you can also spin the legs 360 degrees as well at the base of the thigh, and then you can bring up the legs all the way. I mean, it kind of looks a little awkward, so I don't know what you would do with that, but it is possible. And the split isn't really all that, it's kind of just pivoting the legs. It's not really splitting them open. It's decent range. It's just, I don't know if I'd consider that a split with how the legs work on the elites. And then for our first knee, you can move it back and forth a decent amount, and you can also rotate it as well 360 degrees, which is always good. And then moving down to the second knee, you can also bend it back and forth a decent amount, and just like the first one, you can also rotate it 360 degrees as well. And then moving down to the foot, you can of course rotate the foot 360 degrees and bend the ankle however you please. And overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with the leg articulation on the elites, because the elites legs are built different from, you know, humans. Of course, some extra care and attention had to go into them, and I feel like Jazwares did a good job here in the leg area. I think the only complaint that I have for the legs is that you can't really make your elite kneel down in any sort of way. So my overall thoughts on the articulation for this figure are kind of disappointing. I mean, Noble 6's articulation was kind of meh, and this figure is just slightly worse than Noble 6's. It pretty much, you know, he can't look in, you know, multiple directions. You can only really look up and down. The arm articulation feels somewhat limited due to the armor and the bulkiness of his arms. The torso articulation is fine, and the leg articulation is great for the most part, but you know, you can't really have him kneel down or bow down in any way, whereas with Noble 6 you can kind of take full advantage of his leg articulation. Granted, again, the legs of a human and an elite are different, but still, it just kind of sucks how much you can't really get out of the Elite Zealot's legs. And you know, overall, the only thing that's really going for this figure are the visuals, because the Halo Reach Elite Zealots do look really, really cool. And like with every Jazwares Vault release, these figures do come with stands, and they are just like the same stands that we've gotten with Wave 1. They can work with older stands, and older stands can work with them. You can put these figures in older stands and vice versa, and they stay on these figures. They will not fall off very easily, which is nice when you're trying to display your figure, whether it's on your shelf or for some kind of photography. But overall, solid stands, zero complaints. Getting into our first weapon included, and we do have the assault rifle. Now, visually, it's kind of underwhelming. I mean, the sculpt work is good. You can see all the tiny details that you would see on the assault rifle, but as for the paint job, the only color variation is that yellow stripe. After that, the entire thing is this light gray, which again is very underwhelming. The Halo Infinite paint job of this rifle looks 10 times better because there's a little more color variation, and I kind of wish they just went with that, especially since the Halo Reach assault rifle is a darker, you know, model of assault rifle, but for some reason they chose to go with this light gray. But after that, it's fine. It fits in Noble 6's hand well. I have zero issues with it practically. Just visually, it's a little underwhelming in my opinion. And before anyone asks, no, the knife is not unsheathable. That is just one piece stuck to the chest of Noble 6. It's just there for decoration. And then for the Elite Zealot's weapon, we do have the concussion rifle, and this thing looks really good when you compare it to the assault rifle. The color variation is great with the metallic orange, gray, and black. The only thing that is missing is the hints of blue that we see throughout the rifle, but I guess it's not the end of the world because this thing still looks really good without it. And as for the sculpt work, they got down as many details as they could. This thing does look really, really good with all the little mechanical bits that they were able to sculpt in the gun, and overall very happy with this gun visually. And Noble 6 can even hold it, so if you want him to wield it, you can do that. So despite how I feel about the articulation and overall feel of this figure, I do enjoy the visual presentation. I think Jazwares did such a great job at making this figure look good. When it comes to the sculpt work, they got down as many details as they could. When it comes to line work, overlapping pieces in the armor, little bits of technology, curvature in the armor and tech suit. If it's on Noble 6, they got it down, and it just overall looks really, really good. And the paint job is really good as well. If I were to add anything to this figure's visual presentation, it'd be a light black wash, just to allow for those smaller and finer details to really pop out. But after that, I do enjoy how this figure looks, and I do think Jazwares did knock it out of the park. By no means is this the same level of quality that we saw with the deluxe Halo 4 Master Chief, but at the end of the day, this figure still does look really good. And then when it comes to the Elite, just like Noble 6, I really do like the visual presentation here. I enjoy the color variation with the skin tone of the Elite, his tech suit, the maroon in his armor, the grays, and the light blue. And just like Noble 6, I feel like this figure would benefit from some kind of black wash or some kind of panel lining that would really allow for those smaller and finer details to pop out. But after that, again, this figure looks really good and I have zero complaints about its visual presentation, just little nitpicks as I always do. So with all that now out of the way, let's put these figures into scale with some size comparisons, starting off with themselves. Here's Noble 6 next to the Elite Zealot. Then we have them next to a Grunt Miner from Halo Infinite, a Skirmisher from Halo Infinite, Rookie from Halo 3 ODST. Then we have the Spartan Collection Noble 6. And finally, we have the Spartan Collection Halo 5 Arbiter and Halo Infinite's Jega Radomni. Then moving on to other franchises, we have NECA's Aliens Xenomorph Warrior, NECA's Predator 2 Elder Predator aka Greyback, Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Imperial Stormtrooper, McFarlane's The Doomslayer, and then finally we have Joy Toys Blood Angel Space Marine Intercessor. And then here we are at the thoughts and discussion segment of the video, pretty much where I go over what I like, dislike, pros, cons, strengths, and weaknesses, and just, really talk about how I feel about these figures, and give y'all something to bounce off of, and go down in the comment section below and get a conversation started. And if you do choose to get a conversation started in the comment section, I'll most likely reply to y'all's comments because I love talking about this stuff, obviously. So I don't like dwelling on the negative any longer than I already have to, so I usually get the sour stuff out of the way first, and that's what we're going to do here. And starting off with my issues with Noble 6, and there's only two things that really do come to mind. The first one being the articulation, how it feels kind of lacking in some areas, like the arms and head. The torso articulation is better than what we get in the Spartan collection already, so that's a plus, and the leg articulation is good. It just feels like in the head and arms there could be some improvements. I feel like he could have had some kind of spherical range of motion in the head. And as for the arms, I think all I really would have liked to see is the elbows go past the 90-degree mark. And then the other thing that comes to mind is the assault rifle. I think Jazwares could have given it a little more color, a little more life to its visual presentation. Don't get me wrong, the sculpt work is great. It's just, it kind of feels underwhelming being light gray all around except for that one yellow stripe. And then as for the Elite Zealot, my only issue with that figure is the articulation. Now that's only one issue I have with this figure, but the articulation is arguably worse than Noble 6's, because at least with Noble 6 he can look in more than one direction, and for the arms I only just kind of wish that the elbows could move up a bit more, whereas with the Elite Zealot, the head articulation, he can only look up and down. If you want him to look side to side, you have to pivot his whole body, and then everything else just feels somewhat limited. I understand that elites are quite literally built different than Spartans, but it just, I wish there was more that I could do with this figure, especially with the legs. All the joints feel great, but you can't really have him do things like bowing down or anything like that. You can only really put him in running poses, or just kind of spreading open his legs. But again, that's my only issue with this figure. I just wish some areas were had more range and articulated better. And then as for the positives about this 2-pack, starting off with visuals for the figures themselves, even if the articulation and overall feel isn't what I desire it to be, the looks for these figures are phenomenal. I don't know if Jazwares went as detailed or thorough as they did with the deluxe Halo 4 Master Chief, but these figures still look good nonetheless. I don't think I have any issues. If I were to add anything to these figures, like I said earlier, it'd be a light black wash just for those smaller and finer details to really pop out. But after that, these figures do look really, really good, and I do enjoy Jazwares' crack at the concussion rifle. I think they did a great job. All I could really ask from them is add the blue lighting that we see throughout the weapon. After that, it just looks great. And another thing that I do like like about this 2-pack is the price. It is $30 for 2 figures. Granted, with tax and shipping, it came out to around $42, but still, for the base price being $30, I can get behind that because I did purchase the Halo 4 Master Chief Deluxe figure for $20, and then that came out to $30 after shipping and tax, and I didn't really think that figure was worth $30. I get that it's deluxe and all that, but still, $30 for one World of Halo figure seems a little ridiculous. But seeing that we're getting 2 figures here for only $30, and then obviously shipping and tax added to $40, which, you know, that does technically make it $20 for each figure, but before tax and shipping it is still $30 at the end of the day, and I think that is a very much more fair price for what we are getting. And if I were to add / improve this 2-pack in any way besides, you know, the things I already complained about, I feel like they should add, you know, an extra weapon for each figure. Seeing that Jazwares is moving the Halo line to the Vault, making it an online exclusive thing, meaning if you want to get these figures you will have to pay that extra for shipping and all that. I feel like them throwing in an accessory or 2 extra would, you know, make it more worth the while. I'm not just saying this for this 2-pack, I'm saying this for all future releases for the World of Halo and even the Spartan Collection. Granted, the Spartan Collection already comes with a bunch of stuff, but, you know, because the Halo series seems to be an online only thing, a few extra accessories wouldn't hurt, seeing that we have to pay extra for shipping and all that. So at the end of the day, it's kind of hard whether I can recommend this 2-pack or not, because my recommendation is really going to be based on how loyal you are to Jazwares Vault's The World of Halo figures. Basically, if you just like anything Halo and your whole thing is collecting any piece of Halo merchandise or memorabilia, obviously you're gonna pick this up. If you're someone who doesn't really care about articulation and just finds these figures really cool looking and it's just gonna put them on your shelf and never touch them ever again, then yeah, sure, I also recommend these because these are good looking figures. But if you're someone who also does care about the feel and articulation of these figures, you might be, you know, kind of put back because these figures don't have the best articulation. Don't get me wrong, like, these figures do look really good, but if you're someone who really wants to mess around, tinker, and play with these figures, you're gonna be somewhat bummed out because of the articulation. But again, after that, it's really up to you whether you're okay with dealing with that. And you could also just be like me, who just really wanted the Elite Zealot because it looks really cool, and you're just gonna have these figures sit on your shelf for the most part. I mean, granted, I do tinker and mess around and, you know, show the things I collect some love every now and then, but for the most part, I will say I did get this 2-pack for the Elite Zealot because it looks really fucking cool. So at the end of the day, it's really all up to personal preference whether you want to pick up this 2-pack or not. Remember, I do have a link in the description of the video to the Jazwares Vault page for this figure or this 2-pack if you do want to pick it up. And with all that said, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. A like and a subscription would be phenomenal. Don't worry about commenting. I get it. It hurts to move your fingers. But if you do want to bounce off anything I did say throughout the video, you are more than welcome to. I'll most likely reply to your comments because I love talking about this stuff, obviously. And don't worry about the bell because we both know that shit is broken. And if you want to see more content like this, there's plenty of it up on the channel. I already have a handful of Halo content up on this channel. And I also review stuff in the Star Wars franchise, Warhammer franchise, the Alien franchise, and the Predator franchise. So if any of that does interest you, you are more than welcome to go check that out. And with all that said, please have a good day and stay hydrated. It's important.